Vladimir Putin's story is one of ambition, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of power. His journey from humble beginnings to the highest office in Russia is both remarkable and controversial, marked by moments of secrecy, strategy, and calculated risk. Born in Leningrad, now known as St. Petersburg, Putin grew up in a city still scarred by the devastation of World War II. His early life was shaped by hardship and the strict discipline of Soviet society. After studying law at Leningrad State University, he joined the KGB, the Soviet Union's powerful intelligence agency, where he began to learn the art of espionage and the value of loyalty to the state. The KGB was more than just a job for Putin. It was a crucible that forged his worldview. There, he learned the importance of secrecy, discipline, and the necessity of maintaining control in a world full of uncertainty. These lessons would become central to his leadership style in the years to come. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Putin found himself at a crossroads. The old order was gone, and Russia was plunged into chaos. Seizing the opportunity, he entered politics in his hometown, working closely with the mayor of St. Petersburg and quickly making a name for himself as a shrewd and effective administrator. Putin's rise through the political ranks was swift. He gained a reputation for efficiency, decisiveness, and at times, ruthlessness. His ability to navigate the treacherous waters of post-Soviet politics set him apart from his peers and caught the attention of those in power in Moscow. In 1999, as Russia struggled with political instability, President Boris Yeltsin appointed Putin as prime minister. It was a pivotal moment as the country was desperate for strong leadership and a sense of direction. At the time, Russia was facing enormous challenges: economic collapse, widespread poverty, and a brutal war in Chechnya that threatened to tear the country apart. The Russian people were weary, uncertain about the future, and longing for stability. Putin stepped into the spotlight, promising to restore order and rebuild the nation. He projected an image of strength, discipline, and unwavering resolve, assuring citizens that he would bring stability back to their lives. His direct, no-nonsense approach resonated with many Russians who were tired of the chaos and unpredictability of the previous decade. For millions, Putin's message was a beacon of hope. His promises of security and national pride struck a chord with a population eager for change and a return to greatness. On December 31, 1999, in a surprise announcement, Boris Yeltsin resigned, naming Putin as acting president. Overnight, Putin became the leader of a nation at a crossroads, tasked with guiding Russia into a new era. In the presidential election of 2000, Putin secured a decisive victory. With this, he began his reign over Russia, setting the stage for a new chapter in the country's history, one defined by his vision, his methods, and his unyielding grip on power. Putin's early years saw Russia's economy grow. High oil prices boosted government revenue. Putin used this money to strengthen the state and modernize the military. He brought key industries like oil and gas under government control. This gave him leverage over powerful oligarchs, wealthy businessmen who had thrived in the 1990s. Some were jailed, others fled, and those who remained learned to play by Putin's rules. This control extended beyond Russia's borders. When foreign companies like Yukos Oil challenged Putin, they faced consequences. Yukos was broken up, and its CEO, Mikhail Khodorkovsky, was imprisoned. This sent a clear message. Loyalty to Putin was paramount. The Kremlin's influence grew, and the lines between government and business blurred. As Russia's economy grew rapidly in the early 2000s, the world watched with fascination and skepticism. The country was flush with oil and gas revenues, and a new class of ultra-wealthy elites began to emerge. But as the fortunes of the nation soared, so did questions about where all this newfound wealth was actually going, and who was truly benefiting from Russia's economic boom. The flow of money became a subject of intense scrutiny, both inside Russia and abroad. Observers noticed that while some sectors of society prospered, much of the population saw little improvement in their daily lives. This disparity led to growing suspicions about corruption and the concentration of wealth among a select few. Critics accused President Vladimir Putin and his close circle of using their positions to enrich themselves, often at the expense of ordinary Russians. Allegations of cronyism and favoritism became common, with many pointing to the lavish lifestyles of those in power as evidence of systemic corruption. Stories of extravagant palaces, sprawling estates on the Black Sea, and super yachts worth hundreds of millions of dollars, allegedly linked to Putin and his associates, only fueled these suspicions. These properties, often hidden behind layers of shell companies, became symbols of the vast hidden fortunes amassed by Russia's elite. Investigative journalists, both in Russia and internationally, began to dig deeper. Their work uncovered a complex web of offshore companies, secret bank accounts, and hidden assets stretching across the globe. These revelations painted a picture of a financial system designed to obscure the true ownership of immense wealth. Many of these companies were based in well-known tax havens such as Cyprus, the British Virgin Islands, and Switzerland. These jurisdictions offered secrecy and minimal regulation, making them ideal for moving and hiding vast sums of money away from public scrutiny and government oversight. Through a maze of transactions, funds would travel from Russian state contracts or businesses through offshore entities and eventually end up in luxury assets or private accounts. This system allowed those in power to quietly accumulate fortunes while maintaining plausible deniability. One of the most striking examples is the case of Sergei Roldugin, a renowned cellist and a close personal friend of Vladimir Putin. Despite his modest public profile and lack of any significant business background, Roldugin was found to be at the center of a network of offshore companies handling billions of dollars. Investigations revealed that Roldugin was listed as the owner of companies that controlled luxury assets and vast sums in offshore accounts. The sheer scale of these holdings raised questions about who the real beneficiaries were, and whether Roldugin was acting as a front for more powerful interests. These offshore accounts received large transfers from companies controlled by Putin's closest allies, suggesting a coordinated effort to move money out of Russia and into the hands of a trusted inner circle. The network of transactions was so intricate that tracing the true flow of funds became a challenge even for seasoned investigators. The release of the Panama Papers in 2016 was a turning point. This massive leak of documents from a Panamanian law firm exposed the offshore dealings of politicians, businessmen, and celebrities worldwide, including many with close ties to the Kremlin. The evidence provided a rare glimpse into the secretive world of Russian wealth management. The documents revealed that numerous individuals close to Putin, including high-ranking government officials and influential businessmen, had used offshore companies to conceal their assets and shield their wealth from public view. These revelations intensified calls for transparency and accountability, but the true extent of Russia's hidden fortunes remains shrouded in secrecy to this day. Vladimir Putin's legacy is as complex as it is contested, marked by dramatic shifts in Russia's fortunes and the lives of its people. Few leaders in modern history have left such a profound and polarizing imprint on their nation. His rise to power at the turn of the millennium signaled a new era for Russia, one that would see the country transformed in ways both celebrated and criticized. When Putin first took office, Russia was reeling from the chaos and uncertainty of the 1990s. The economy was in shambles, crime was rampant, and the country's global influence had waned. Through a combination of decisive action and strategic maneuvering, he stabilized Russia, restoring a sense of order and national pride. Under his leadership, Russia reasserted itself on the world stage, demanding to be recognized as a major power once again. Supporters of Putin often highlight the economic growth that followed his rise. For many, he is credited with bringing prosperity and a renewed sense of hope. National pride soared as Russia hosted global events, modernized its cities, and saw its people's confidence restored. The sense of unity and purpose that emerged during his early years in power is still remembered fondly by many Russians. Yet this newfound stability and prosperity came at a significant cost. The political landscape shifted dramatically, with dissenting voices increasingly silenced and the boundaries of personal freedom redrawn. Political opposition was systematically suppressed, and media freedom was sharply curtailed. Journalists and activists who challenged the status quo often faced intimidation, legal troubles, or worse. The space for open debate and criticism narrowed, raising concerns both inside and outside Russia about the future of democracy in the country. Critics argue that Putin's Russia became a system rife with corruption and inequality. Power and wealth became concentrated in the hands of a select few, while ordinary citizens often struggled to have their voices heard. The rise of oligarchs and the intertwining of business and politics fueled perceptions of a government that served the interests of the elite. Still, for millions of Russians, the benefits of Putin's rule are undeniable. Many saw their living standards improve, with better access to jobs, housing, and consumer goods. The sense of chaos that once defined daily life faded, replaced by a feeling of security and predictability. Russia's cities modernized, and the country regained a sense of purpose. However, beneath the surface, economic inequality persisted. The gap between the wealthy and the poor widened, and not everyone shared equally in the nation's newfound prosperity. The wealth generated during Putin's reign has not trickled down to everyone. While some Russians enjoy lives of luxury, others, especially the elderly and those in rural areas, continue to struggle to make ends meet. Questions about corruption and the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few continue to cast a long shadow over Putin's legacy. Investigations into government dealings and the fortunes of the country's richest citizens have only deepened the debate about who truly benefited from Russia's transformation. As Russia moves forward, the long-term impact of Putin's rule on its people, its politics, and its place in the world remains uncertain. His legacy is still being written, shaped by the choices of today and the consequences that will unfold for generations to come.